his club. Doghausen's roar fills the pub.
So, after a 10-year wait in the wilderness, BioWare have finally returned to the Dragon Age IP for their latest and arguably most daring installment. This has been met with some, shall we say, mixed reviews.
The final verdict for Dragon Age the VEILGUARD is a 3 out of 10!
If we never get another Dragon Age, at least it got to go out on a high note.
BioWare are back.
You couldn't find more bipolar reviews for a game if it was reviewed solely by Nazis and nuns. And the unfortunate thing is that despite BioWare allegedly trying to control who gave Dragon Age the VEILGUARD's early reviews in order to give it the best start, the other end of the spectrum brings reviews based solely on political horseshit that not only make no sense to me, but have painted BioWare in a far worse light than I think they deserve to be for this particular walk in the park. In some cases, the hate is well deserved, like the eventual vitriolic kick to the nuts I'd so happily love to give Dr. Candy Andrews, but it doesn't quite deserve the complete grueling conservative hate fuck that it's been put through since its release. So, I figured it was time to come back to YouTube as someone who not only enjoyed but suffered this game to its conclusion, 100% completing it, not once, but fucking twice, and set the record straight once and for all about where this game's strengths and weaknesses truly lie. It's time for a first ever full Doghausen review of Dragon Age the VEILGUARD, and just in case you didn't completely read the title to this video, heavy spoilers are contained hereafter, so feel free to complain in the comments if I spoil anything for you.
Don't say I didn't specifically warn you, because I just have, and that means you'd be lying.
So, Dragon Age starts where all good RPGs of the last 20 years start, in character creation. And the character creation in this game is absolutely fantastic. There are so many options in here that you could anatomically create yourself as the strapping lady killer that you are, or bring to life a 7-foot horny Papa Smurf and try and bone half a Tavinta. The choice is entirely yours here. The first thing I heard people complaining about left, right and centre is the inclusion of a gender-neutral pronoun and a non-binary status of gender identification, which if you did in fact elect not to buy this game based purely on that and because BioWare went woke, then listen up fuckstick. BioWare has always had a progressive agenda. Dragon Age and Mass Effect's IPs combined have contained more rainbow-friendly content than a newspaper spread of that gobshite Sam Smith fishing in drag next to a puddle of circle jerk on a Friday night in Manchester. The agenda is far from a new thing here. Remember the Asari? Practically an entire non-binary race? Remember Krem, Iron Bull's trans man companion in the Chargers? Now, I'll admit, I don't understand the whole trans thing. I probably understand it better than I do non-binary, because at least when someone transitions, it's simply like the chicken in the joke, trying to get to the other side of the road because he's a Catholic and doesn't want to walk past the abortion clinic. That makes sense. But apologies if I generally see non-binary, queer or gender fluidity like androgyny on acid, and don't understand why we have to go back 500 years to revive the Shakespearean singular they to label it all. Probably because in my mind a feminine man is still a man and a manly woman is still a woman. But if identity is so important to some people, why should I stand in their way of being included in anything? So long as nobody's lying to get an easier run in sporting events, or identifying as an apricot-flavoured twat hammer, I mean, so long as nobody's getting hurt, then what's the damn fuss about? I may come across as ignorant, but please, hear me out here. There once was a great speaker called Martin Luther King, who tried to teach the masses that it's the content of your character that matters. So if some nice person wants me to call him or her, they or them, simply because it makes them feel better in themselves, then who am I to refuse them that dignity? I'm a nice guy, or so my darling mother tells me, and I'm failing hard to register the reason why I should make someone suffer for what is ultimately their decision in life. Maybe that's a rant for another day, but I digress. Putting a pronoun into the game, or even a top surgery scar, is not forcing someone to play a trans character. It's simply facilitating the means for anyone to be who and what they perceive the hero to be. Doesn't mean you have to use it. I'm not using a top surgery scar. I'm proud of my jiggly man tits, and BioWare even gave me the chance to have those when I created my character, aptly named Douche. Gender, for some people, much like sexuality, is a hard decision to have to juggle, and that also goes for this character creator. I must have spent about an hour in this goddamn menu the first time, trying to get every scar exactly where I wanted it, the tattoos I wanted, my jiggly ghetto booty all nice and padded out with 80 pounds of hamburger helper, before finally trying to get my hair spot on. Though, truth be told, I ended up looking like Mel B from Bo Selector sat on Bob Ross's happy little tree, and the result of that vomit-inducing night of raw passion is the very start of my hero's backstory. So, on to the meat and two veg of this thing. The main story, which in this iteration might actually be one of the best main stories to grace a Dragon Age game to date. After chasing Solus across the seas to Tevinter, Inquisition favourites Varric Tethras and Scout Lace Harding have finally, with the help of Rook, our protagonist, found the treacherous pointy-eared lying wank splat about to complete his ritual to bring down the Veil. As Varric and Rook disrupt the ritual, they accidentally banish Solus to be imprisoned in the Fade. In the same turn of events, they accidentally release two evil elven gods, Elganan and Gillenane, who were previously imprisoned in the Fade. The catch? These two evil bastards not only started the Blight, but have now mutated it and made some kind of super Blight, plaguing the entirety of Thedas. Varric is stabbed by Solus and rendered out of action, and now from the Lighthouse, their new base deep within the Fade, it's now up to Rook to gather allies and companions to form an army capable not only of taking on one, but two divine dickheads. If you didn't feel any danger back in Dragon Age Inquisition facing off with a crazy magister that Hawke already killed in the second game, then let me reassure you that as this game begins to open up, it really does feel like Rook is well and truly up against impossible odds and about to get pegged by a 400-pound clingy prison wife called Sloppy Steve.
Ooh, scandalous! Here's 4 stickers. Never say that again.
Out in the world, you'll finally be engaged in that staple of BioWare storytelling, hiring companions to fight with you and your cause. You yourself can choose to hail from one of 6 different factions as an origin story, and then it's out into the open world vistas of Thedas, which are beautifully constructed. Long gone are Inquisition's huge, sprawling, often empty landscapes with fetch quest after mind-bogglingly boring fetch my ancient elven dildo side quest, to be lovingly replaced by smaller, more populated, explorable areas with tons of collectibles, puzzles, missions, and side activities to discover. The diversity of these areas makes for a refreshing change of pace. Everywhere you go, from the vast deserts and ruins of Rivain, to the endless puzzle that is the Arlathan Forest, through the parkour-inducing Venice-inspired streets of Treviso, right the way to the bustling commercial metropolis that is Minrathous, and more. There is something for everyone here, and the game world is, for the most part, one of the best we've seen in the franchise so far.
Crackly reception, interference, cosy, marvellous. Ooh.
Much like the story and the world around it, combat has seen a considerable change, arguably for the better, with a myriad of ways to build your character. all the usual Dragon Age classes are here. Mage, Rogue, and Warrior, each with its own metric fuck tons of skills and 3 subclass specialties, generally themed towards the factions in the game and further deepening the connection to your chosen character. Douche de Reaver was a fat mage who just so happened to be an Antivan Crow spell sword. Fuck standing back and hoping you have enough AA batteries to keep shooting electricity out the end of your shaft to take down an army. Say hello to my orb and dagger, bitches! A common complaint from BioWare fans, and they do seem to know everything, was, hold up, Dragon Age is a tactical game. Where's the tactical view? To which I say, fuck that, this is the 21st century, boomer. Ever played this game with a controller? It's always been a poorly optimised hack and slash to me, and boy have they really refined that this time round. When it comes to combat, playing VEILGUARD over Inquisition is like night and day. It's fast paced, it's fun, it's crisp. And remember the change in feel from RPG greatness in Mass Effect 1 to the more streamlined action game that was Mass Effect 2? Well, this is the change from Dragon Age Inquisition, the party-based RPG, to Mass Effect 2 Thedas Edition! I kid you not. There are so many Mass Effect staples in this game that are a welcome addition. Remember how satisfying it was to prime a power, detonate it, and get a big explosion of light that gave you damage, a gratifying boost? It's here. Albeit, I wish it had more than one goddamn animation. 2 companions instead of 3. Here. A power wheel. Here. Fast-paced action instead of slow tactical. Present and accounted for. Dialogue wheel? Here. What about blood? Well, it's... Where the fuck's the blood? Now, I'm no expert in anatomy. You've probably worked that out by now. But if I was so angry that I wanted to take my dagger and stab a Venatori douche nozzle right in the gooch to give him the most painful unaliving ever, then wouldn't he, well, I don't know, but wouldn't there be blood exploding from that gooch?
Like I said, I don't know anatomy.
I mean, all of the other games had blood. Why the hell doesn't this one? Never mind that anyway. Combat is fun, but... Oi, puppy, can you control your teammates? Well, actually, no. You can tell them what to do and they just kind of teleport there from whatever they're doing and... Hang on a second. Why don't they have a life bar? What the fuck? Are you telling me these bastards are immortal? Then why the fuck am I risking my life to save the world? If they can't fucking die, then why don't they fucking do it? And if they can't kick the bucket, why am I even supposed to give a shit if a dragon dick slaps them all the way to Ferelden? Even if they land on their head, it's not going to do anything. So just get them to save the world. I'll sit back at the lighthouse, drinking beer and totally not banging Balara. It'll be a walk in the park for the twats! Why is Rock even needed?
Alright, he's awesome, yeah.
Sorry about that. The variety of armour and weaponry in this game has been significantly upgraded from the last game, with hundreds of items to collect, upgrade and enchant, with the addition of being able to transmogrify the items to look like any other armour you've managed to pick up. Have you got some sexy armour that makes you so irresistible you might actually drop your controller because your hands are full? No worries, make yourself look like a spiky bringer of death and you can go back to concentrating on murder. Manage to find a dagger that gives you an insane upgrade but looks more like a thing you'd find in your mother's bottom drawer than something you'd want to rain death upon your enemies with? That's fine too. So, how do you store so many items in your inventory, I hear you ask? Well, there kind of isn't one. There is, but you're not going to be managing your inventory like standard fare RPG, because the game kind of organises what you can and can't sell. It's nice like that, but I eventually found that the more I went into this game, just as I realised so long ago when transitioning from Mass Effect 1 to 2, that Dragon Age is no longer an RPG. It's simply an action-adventure game with RPG elements. It felt like a bitter pill going down, but the moment I'd gotten over that shocking hurdle, I appreciate this game a lot more. I mean, the RP in RPG stands for roleplay in case you didn't already know, and the range with which you can roleplay in Dragon Age Veilguard has been greatly reduced. The 3 shades of goody two-shoes on an ever more frustrating dialogue wheel that hardly ever seems to say what you're hoping it's going to isn't exactly the worst thing in the world, but I miss the days in previous games where I could just be an absolute dick to everyone I meet.
If you have a problem, say it. I don't have time for your feelings.
I was just about to do that myself.
Awful things happen every day. Get used to it.
In fact, one of my main concerns with this game is in the fact there's a distinct lack of conflict. Despite all the heartache and stress plaguing the team, the companions, for the most part, seem to get on like a house on fire and go about their lives as if nobody's having a bad day. Balara should be seething with rage at the mere thought that we may have to murder her brother to death. Lucanus should be wanting to cut someone from hole to hole for betraying not just his own flesh and blood, but the crows too. But everyone ultimately decides to live and let live, downplaying every emotional blow as if it doesn't even matter. Sometimes it feels like I'm sat in the South Tower, and Dave runs in and says, "We need to move, pup. A plane just flew into the North Tower. We could be next." And my response is, I know, I just saw it on the news. I'll come in a minute. I just want to see if they got the fit weather girl on today. For a story that, as I stated before, in premise is so good, full of companion quests, faction quests, side quests, and almost no fetch quest filler in sight, the game doesn't half play itself down sometimes. Just listen to how everyone gets across just how much their problems are affecting them.
I think we've all been distracted.
I've been preoccupied myself after discovering that Hand of Glory.
And I can't stop worrying about my new magic and what it means.
Or what the Venatori are up to in Docktown.
Until those problems are resolved, we will not be prepared to face the gods.
The dialogue just isn't good enough in my view. It's not entirely bad, sometimes a bit cringy, but I can deal with that. My issue is that the Dragon Age games used to be the pinnacle of video game storytelling, but when a great story arc is hitting its peak, it needs good dialogue to drive it home, to turn that moment from good to great, and unfortunately Veilguard struggles to hit that extra gear when it's needed. Perhaps I expected too much from it, but I remember the good old days back in Origins when Shale told me how much she detested chickens without saying a single solitary word. Also, is it me, or have the Chinese military via TikTok fried too many of our teenagers' fragile minds that they have to tell me over and over again what only happened 5 minutes ago?
The Evanurus, or as you would call them, the Elven Gods, the creatures that escaped.
Yes! When I tell you the stakes have never been higher, come on! Yes!
Solus had 2 of the other Elven Gods imprisoned. When he got trapped, they escaped.
I know, right? This is gonna be really good!
Solus got pulled into the Fade, and 2 somethings got pulled out. Or someones, I mean. 2 of the Evanurus. Elganan and Gillenane.
Okay, you're kinda taking the edge off of it.
Our gods, Elganan and Gillenane, they've escaped from Fen'Harel's prison. And by all accounts, they want to destroy the world.
Uh-huh.
No, listen. The gods. The gods have returned.
Elven gods escaped from their prison. Solus is in your head, and we're scrambling to figure out what to do.
I know!
Sometimes good stories are told much better by what is left unsaid. And where the dialogue in this game is one of its weaker attributes, the soundtrack is absolutely fantastic. I guarantee, after killing enemy after enemy in this game, you will be humming half the music in your sleep and waking up puzzled as to why your partner is humming the same song around the house the following morning, even though she hasn't even reached that part of the game yet. Puppy.
Come dance with me.
No. I like fantasy role-playing games because it's a rare moment that a window-licking retard such as myself actually gets to feel like a smartass within my daily life, and solving a good puzzle to illuminate the way forward has always been a proud feeling. So why the fuck, BioWare, do you tell me how to do every puzzle?
Do you see those lyrium reserves by that opening? There should be matching anchors on our side. Let's try linking them.
Let's give it a try.
Oh, really? I've done about 60 of these already!
I appreciate some games like to hold your hand, just so it doesn't feel too daunting, but seriously guys, I'm an adult now. I go pee-pee standing up. And I can swear without having to first check if the teacher is in earshot, and I don't have to apologise to my local imam every time I have a bacon sandwich. He'll be retard, kid.
Cheers, dude. It's so good that we can see eye to... Oh my fucking god!
Oh, I couldn't bother you like that.
Well, please do.
You realize you just offered to be with me all night while I sleep.
Well, yeah. I mean, yes, that is what I offered.
Anyhow, speaking of fucking, you'll probably be wondering by now why I'm reviewing a Dragon Age game and haven't even mentioned anything to do with sex or romance. Well, in case you've been patiently waiting with some Vaseline in one hand and your sister's favourite sock in the other, it is with flaccid regret that I need to inform you that, there kind of isn't any. I mean, there's a little bit of romance. You can flirt and lock in a cheesy Disney-esque romance with any one of your companions and all that, but there's very little intimacy. No reference to the fact by other party members, or that much content to shout about in the first place. It's arguably a collection of the least substantial romance stories BioWare ever wrote. I'm not saying I wanted to be in my own erotic minigame of 2 dwarfs, 1 cup, but is a reach around really that much to ask?
It's drawing me out. Drawing me down.
Lace, listen. You're not alone. Whatever's out there, we'll face it together. I promise. Together.
I could kiss you right now. I'm going to kiss you right now.
Lace, there's something we might need to... It's your magic.
Rook?
You make the world spin, Lace Harding.
Rook! Lyrium. It's like I'm infused with lyrium.
I noticed it when we touched. That night when we talked about your dreams.
You knew? You knew, and you still kissed me?
Wow, I feel drunk.
Yeah, it's because I turned your head into mush.
Or it's love.
You boob! This is not funny! Okay, I'll fix it. I promise. I will find a way and I will fix it. Okay? Okay? Damn it! No, don't touch me!
I mean, I romanced Scout Harding because she made me hard in Hightown 10 years ago, and finding out that I couldn't touch her for fear of getting lyrium poisoning was heartbreaking at first, but a few cheesy lines later and some touching scenes, few and far between, and it was an okay experience. Nothing to write home about. It made me smile, but I felt there could and should have been a hell of a lot more to it. But to talk to other players of the game and find that their romances had even less content really made me wonder. Even more baffling is when you look in the game's settings menu and find a nudity toggle. Who in the blue fuck is this thing for? I've been through 2 romances in this game so far, and all I've yet managed to see is a bit of shoulder meat. Is that considered vulgar now? Or were the developers trolling me? How the fuck did BioWare manage to royally fuck up the one thing that it's actually meant to be good at?
I knew you couldn't resist my moves.
Shut up.
So, to conclude, I found this game to be somewhat bipolar. Great story, but terrible writing. Did the game go woke like some have suggested? Unsurprisingly, yes, but that's never an issue if you have good writing to back it up. Unfortunately, the weak writing did offer up to the game's detractors the biggest Christmas present they could have asked for in some cases. As for combat, some may not like the switch to a hack and slash style, but I rather enjoyed it. But a little more enemy variety and some blood wouldn't have gone amiss. Exploration was the game's major strong suit, with countless miles of vibrant, stunningly crafted scenery and tons of great loot to find, but within that, though the factions inhabiting those lands offered up some variety, I think we could have had a little more decision making to do in this regard, giving the game some political intrigue and some further reasons to return to the game and experiment with all the things we could have done. Very little in way of said decisions were imported from the last game, and the decisions that we did have control of within 80 hours gameplay never felt like they had a hell of a lot of weight. Though it was great to see some characters from the previous games make a return, I don't believe they capitalised upon those few opportunities to truly connect with them in the same special ways that have been offered up in previous outings. And though the player's companions had an array of diverse backstories and more content than ever in a Dragon Age game, nobody really belonged in my mind in that pantheon of excellent characters we've seen over the years. The romances felt a little sparse and could have been fleshed out, but I enjoyed the little moments I got. Did this feel like a Dragon Age game? No, is the short answer. But with many big questions about the lore finally being answered and me actually enjoying a lot of the changes they made to the gameplay, the experience offered by Dragon Age the Veilguard is in my mind far from the failure that some have lambasted it as being. After a mostly fun experience with this game, and one of the most solid and rewarding endings in the franchise's history, I felt kinda sad. I don't know whether it was because of the seeming finality of a story I'd been following for 17 years, or whether it's knowing that even if another Dragon Age game is released, it absolutely isn't going to be the role-playing titan it once was. Sure, it has its faults and cringy moments, and although it missed the mark on being a great RPG, I can't help but feel that underneath the hood there was still a semi-decent game that just about quenched my Dragon Age thirst.